Hi, Miss Mayla, and welcome to my presentation on architecture design. I will be discussing the chapter Key Concepts and Learnings. Architecture design is the process of defining the overall structure and organization of an information system, including its hardware, software, and network components. It serves as a blueprint for the system's development and implementation. The objective of architecture design is simple. Determine what parts of the application software will be assigned to what server. The major architectural components of any system are the software and the hardware. In relation to the objective, in order for a system to operate, the system components of the system being developed have to be identified and then allocated to the various hardware components. All software components can be divided into four basic functions, which are data storage, data access logic, application logic, and presentation logic. Data storage, from the word itself, it is store and retrieve data. What are the examples? These are memories, database, and cloud storage. For data access logic, it is a process required to access data which normally uses SQL. SQL is a programming language used to store, retrieve, update, and delete data. The third one is the application logic. It is a set of rules and processes that make an application work the way it is supposed to be. It is also known as the brain of the system. And the last one, presentation logic, from the word presentation, it is the display of information to the client for them to do and accept commands. It is also known as the user interface. The three primary hardware components of a system are client computers, servers, and network. Client computers, these are devices like laptop, desktop, or mobile devices that client interact with to access services, data, or applications provided by the server. And servers, these are typically larger computers used to store software and data that can be accessed by anyone who has permission. And the network connects the client and the server together to share resources, exchange data, and communicate. A good example of a high-speed always-on network is the Ethernet. For client and servers, let's have a simple example. For example, you went to a library and asked the librarian for a certain book. Who is the client? You. Who is the server? The librarian. So the librarian, being the server, finds the book and gives to you. All right? Client and server. There are several types of architecture designs, which are the server-based architecture, client-based architecture, and client-server architecture. In server-based architecture, the clients send and receive information to and from the server computer. All the four applications functions such as presentation logic, application logic, data access logic, and data storage is performed by the server only. Also, the server is locked into one vendor operating system only. So, the fundamental problem with the server-based architecture is the fact that the server must process all informations or messages from the client. As the demands for more and more applications grow, many server computers becomes overloaded and unable to quickly process all the user's demands. And what's the effect? Response time becomes slower. And the network managers, of course, are required to spend increasingly more money to upgrade the server computer. Unfortunately, upgrades come in large increments and very expensive. The next type is the client-based architecture. Here, the application software on the client computers is responsible for the presentation logic, application logic, and the data access logic, three functions, while the server simply stores the data. So, what will be the fundamental problem with this? The client-based network is that all the data on the server must travel to the client for processing. For example, you want the client wishes to display a list of all the employees in a certain company. The list was stored on the server. So, all the data in the database must travel from the server to the client with the use of the network, the link between the two, which then the client examines each record to see whether it matches the data or information that he requested. If it matches, okay. What if it did not match? Of course, it goes back to the server to retrieve the correct information, then data will travel again from the server to the client. What's the effect? This can overload both the network and the power of the client computers. And the last but not the least is the so-called client-server architecture. In this architecture, the client and server share the application logic, with the client handling presentation logic and the server handling data access logic and data storage. There is a balance between the client and the server. That is why it is the most common architecture design. Client-server architectures have four important benefits. These are scalable, flexibility, and simplicity. Scalable in the sense that it is easy to increase or decrease the storage and processes capabilities of the servers. Flexibility, it supports many different types of operating system. And for simplicity, it can separate the presentation logic, the application logic, the data access, the four functions into somewhat independent. Also, if any one server fails, only the application requiring that server will fail. The network will continue to function with all the other servers. Of course, client-server architectures also have some critical limitations. The most important of which is the complexity. All applications in client-server computing have two parts, the software on the client and the software on the server, right? So, updating the network with the new version of software is more complicated. It is not that simple. Remember the server-based architectures that we discussed a while ago, where there is only one server in which application software is stored. So when you want to update the software, you simply replace it and that's it. Unlike with client-server architectures, you must update all clients and all servers. Right? Okay. Okay, to summarize the limitations of each type of architecture, let's look on the table. First, as observed, client-server are strongly favored on the basis of the cost of infrastructure. Means the hardware, the software, and the network that will support the application system. And for cost of development, developing applications for client-based architectures is low cost due to the availability of many GUI or graphical user interface. These are development tools for client-based servers like Visual Basic, Microsoft Access, and so on. For difficulty of development, the tools used to create mainframe-based systems are often not very user-friendly and require specialized skills that are difficult to acquire. And which of the three uses mainframe system? It is the server-based. So therefore, server-based systems are difficult to develop. For interface capabilities, the server-based, because of being simple, its applications typically present a plain character-based interface to the client or the user. For control and security, the server-based architecture was originally developed to control and secure data and has the significant advantage of having all the data is stored in a single location. So the security is better because there is only one location. For scalability, the most scalable architecture is of course the client server because servers can be added or removed to the infrastructure when processing needs change. All right. I mentioned a while ago that client server architecture are the most commonly used. So let's discuss the process in which the application logic can be partitioned between the client and the server. So the way the application logic is divided between the client and the server. And there are client three types. The client server architectures can be further divided into the so-called tiers. So the second tier, third tiered, and n-tiered architecture. The two-tier architecture consists of a client and a server, direct, with the client handling application and presentation logic and the server handling the data access logic and data storage. Right? While in three-tier architecture, it consists of a client, an application server, and a database server, with each tier handling a specific function. So in this case, the software on the client computer is responsible for the presentation logic. So you have the software, while the application server is responsible for the application logic, and a separate database servers is responsible for the data access logic and the data storage. So there's application server in between. There is no direct link between the client and database. And lastly, the n-tier architecture consists of multiple tiers, each handling a specific function such as presentation logic, application logic, and data access and storage. So this type of architecture is common in today's web-based e-commerce system. So when you search on the internet, that's it. So for example, when a client search for an item on browser like Google where he wants to buy something, that's for the client. Then the web server enable the client to view merchandise for sale like on Amazon, Lazada, Shopee, etc. So the client will see it on the web server, for which they have their own websites or application servers. So for example, the client chose Amazon. So Amazon have their own application server. So components on the application server are called as needed to allow the client to put items on the shopping cart, determine item pricing and availability, compute purchase costs, sales tax and shipping costs, authorize payments, and so on. These elements of business logic are detailed processing are stored on the application server of Amazon. Alright? And lastly, the database. Of course, the database contains all the information and all the components regarding the whole system. It serves as it manages the data and components of the system. Okay. The primary advantage of an n-tiered client-server architecture compared with the 2 and 3-tiered is that it separates out the processing that occurs to better balance the load on the different servers, meaning it is more scalable because there are web server and application server in between. So the load is divided. And of course, meron din namang disadvantage yon. First, the configuration puts a greater load on the network because you need so many links, so many network. You see that the n-tiered model requires more communication links among the server, thus it generates more network traffic, so you need a higher capacity network. Second, it is much more difficult to program and test software because more devices have to communicate to complete a user's transaction. Marami na kasing nakasanga eh. Okay. Alright. A while ago, we compared the three architecture design based on their advantage and limitations, the server base, the client base, and the client server. Now, we want to design an architecture. So, what are the several key considerations to keep in mind? Of course, these are the operational requirements, which includes operating environment, system integration requirements, portability requirements, and maintainability requirements. The second one is the performance requirements, which includes speed requirements, capacity requirements, availability and reliability requirements. And the third one is the security requirements. Kailangan maging secured naman yung mga data mo. This includes access control requirements, encryption, and authentication requirements. And of course, virus control requirements. And the third and the last one is the cultural and political requirements. May mga limitations din kasi per country na kailangan nating i-respect. So this includes multilingual requirements, customization requirements, unstated norms requirements, and legal requirements. Right? So we are now on designing our own structure, and these are the key considerations. So to make things simpler, let's look on the table. We have the server base, client base, thin client server, and thick client server. By the way, thin client server and thick client server is a type of client server. So, but before that, a client server, a structure can be divided into two, right? The thin and the thick. So, if the client or the user contains all or most of the application logic, it is called a thick client server. While the thin client servers containing on just a small portion of the application logic are more popular because of the lower overhead and easier maintenance. So lahat ng function or most of the function, if napunta kay client, it is called thick client. But if only small portion like application or presentation logic, it is called for thin client. All right. Now, looking at the table, for operational requirements, just in case we want to develop our own architectural design, which of the four is the best? For operational requirement, thin client server is more preferred, as you can see. Next is the performance requirements. Generally speaking, information systems that have high performance requirements are best suited to client server architectures. As you can see, nakuha nila lahat. For security requirements, nabanggit kanina na si server base, dahil nga simple lang siya and all the informations and software is in only one location, and because of the mainframe operating systems are simple, it is more secure than microcomputer operating systems na ginagamit sa mga client server. So, for security requirements, server-based architectures. And for cultural and political requirements, the main thing to consider is the ability to separate the presentation logic from the application and data logic, because more on cultural and political is the most related function is the presentation, the user interface. So this separation is the easiest in thin client server architectures. So systems with many cultural and political requirements often use thin client architectures kasi pwede mong ilipat sa server yung ibang functions at magtira ka lang ng isa para kay thin client server. Remember the 4 functions, right? So before I proceed, I hope everything is clear. Okay? All right. So what are the key insights from my presentation? First, architecture design is a critical phase in a system development that requires careful considerations. And second, understanding the requirements and limitations of each architecture design is crucial to making informed design decisions. Each of the design have their own advantage and disadvantages. And finally, scalability, security, and performance, these are the key considerations in architecture design. All right. And I want to end my presentation with this quote. A well-designed architecture is essential for a successful information system. Okay. Thank you for your attention, Miss Mayla, and I hope you've gained some valuable insights from this presentation. Thank you.